Hi, and welcome to this session of Talking Tech, Women and Girls in ICT. My name is Chloe Marie, and today I'm delighted to be representing Hunter College in New York and UNICC. Today, I will be having a discussion about tech and tech careers with Meredith Stowell. The goals of Talking Tech series are to help create a global environment that empowers and encourages girls and young women to consider studies and careers in the growing field of technology. This series also provides insight on leading women in tech, their career journeys, and their work. Before jumping in, I'd like to give a brief background on Talking Tech. The Talking Tech series is brought to you by the ITU, UNICC, and the Office of the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, and is in support of Equals, the global partnership for gender equality in the digital age. To kick this session off, I am delighted and honored to have this conversation with Meredith Stowell, who is a VP of IBM Z Ecosystem. Meredith and her team work with a range of clients, including students and universities, to build critical skills needed in the marketplace and a strong community where people can connect, network, and share ideas. In addition, Meredith has an extensive background in IBM software solutions and the analytics field. Hi, Meredith. Thank you for being
Hi.
here today, and welcome to Talking Tech. So my first question for you is, what was your earliest experience with using technology, and what made you decide to pursue this as a career?
I didn't really start technology or in a tech career kind of in a common way. I actually don't have any background or any education in tech. The majority of my education is in economics, it's in international finance and commerce, it's in business analytics or business operations. And in fact, I've always loved math. Math has always been a favorite subject of mine. And when I was a senior in high school, I actually took higher math, but I wasn't very inspired, shall we say, by my instructor there, particularly when it came to women in math. And so I didn't really pursue that, but I wasn't sure that math was where I wanted to go anyway. I was very interested in international diplomacy, so I went to Georgetown. To the School of Foreign Service, and one of the required courses there was economics, and I fell in love with economics. And I think that econ is one of those places where we were talking before. It's practical math, right? It's you've got the foundation of math, but it's also the intersection with business and how do you actually practically apply that mathematics in the world. So once I went into sales operations, I went into financial analysis and financial analyst positions. That's where I really discovered my passion for tech. I was working at this company as a sales operations lead, and they brought in a whole new system to implement for the manufacturing side of the house. And there was an analytic package that went along with it, a business intelligence package. And they said, Meredith, we don't have time to work on this. You're the one that's going to use this the most. Why don't you try it out? You go figure out how this whole thing works. And that's where I found how analytics and technology can really help to accelerate your job and what you're doing within your job. And in my case, it was analytics. And I decided, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to share this with others, and I want to share this with other business users and show them how they can use technology to help them do an even better job and actually focus on analyzing the data instead of trying to pull all of the data together. So then that led me to be a consultant for Cognos at the time. It was a business intelligence company. And really, that's kind of how I found my way into tech. Love of math, love of puzzles, love of solving problems, but also then applying those from a business perspective to help others.
And that's a wonderful perspective on technology, the way that it can help to bring about business solutions and connect people. So as I mentioned previously, you're active in leading a lot of developer outreach activities. Can you name one program that has been your favorite so far, and tell us a little bit about who participated?
There are actually two programs that I absolutely love. That the reason I love them is because of the change that they bring about in people's lives and the impact that they have on individuals. Those two programs. One is a student contest that we run within my organization, called Master the Mainframe. It provides students, as well as any learner, the opportunity to learn about enterprise computing, to learn about IBM Z, to learn about these systems that actually run the global economy that nobody even realizes are there. And because most people don't know that they exist, they don't know if they have a passion for it. They don't know if they're interested in it. They don't even know if this is the type of technology that might appeal to them. And what Master the Mainframe allows people to do is to give it a try. And there's no prerequisites. There's no needed knowledge. It can be anyone who's 13 plus, but it gives you the opportunity to try it out and see if you like it. And what we find is those individuals that tend to complete part two, part three, level two, level three, they actually have an affinity towards this technology. They find that they really love it, and we end up connecting them with employers for jobs. And so the reason I really have enjoyed working with this program is not just because what it does for individuals today, but the number of people that I meet when I'm at conferences or when I'm out and about, back when you could be out and about, of people coming up to me and saying, Master the Mainframe changed my life. I never thought that I would ever go down this route. And here I am in this career for 10 plus years, and I still love it. So that's definitely a program because I like to see how it truly does change the trajectory or the path of individuals, taking them to new places that they never even knew existed. And I would say the other program that I really love, and it combines that with the Master the Mainframe, are the apprenticeship programs that we're working on. These are new collar programs where we work with individuals who don't necessarily have the traditional background. They don't have a 4-year degree from a university. And how can we help them to get into tech and get into this field without having that 4-year degree program, and providing them the skills, providing them the programs, providing them the connections to employers who are willing to hire and train them, and they earn as they learn. And so they're given that opportunity to get into tech that they thought that they would never have. So once again, it's a common theme. It's changing people's lives. It's impacting people's lives and making it better, and taking them on a whole new career path.
Well, with the overpowering role that technology is taking in our society, it's great that there is a platform where everyone can learn, regardless of their backgrounds. Which leads to my next question for you. With the evolving role of technology in our society and the ongoing pandemic, how do you see the role that private tech companies play in terms of taking social responsibility?
I think it's very important for corporations, for private companies to really be a role model, to really provide the opportunities for their employees to participate um, in responsibility and in communities for good. I also think it's important, as I mentioned, for them to kind of be that role model, because they impact their communities and their global economies in so many different ways. And I have to say, one of the reasons that I work for IBM is because of their very strong commitment to social responsibility, their strong commitment to community, to responsible computing. In fact, IBM releases an annual corporate responsibility report each year. And I looked at the most latest one, and it said one of the things was there with IBM has always taken the long view, grounding our business and strategy in values that endure decades of change and guide our work to define responsible stewardship in the digital age. And we've long embraced corporate philosophy that's inclusive of all of our stakeholders. And those stakeholders include customers, they include employees, they include suppliers, shareholders, but it's also our community and the world around us. So whether it's a company being an example for diversity and inclusion and how they do things and how they operate, whether it's working with their local communities all around the world to provide skill programs to help reskill, build a workforce for the future, whether it's, as I mentioned before, responsible computing and operational efficiencies to protect our environment, right? To have green computing. I know IBM Z is one of the leading platforms in this, and it's one of the reasons I love working on it. But also upholding ethical imperatives that prepare for emerging technologies. So IBM, for example, works with many, many new emerging technologies. We have a deep research field. We are constantly looking at brand new ways of bringing technologies to market, innovation in new technologies, and sometimes these new technologies can be controversial or have potential impact on the ethics out there and on the world, whether it's AI, whether it's data. And so, from an IBM perspective, it's very important to us to ensure that we are setting that ethical and upholding those ethical imperatives, and doing that by example. So, as I mentioned, I mean, IBM is very deep rooted from an ethics perspective. It has a deep culture of helping, of participating in community and making it better. And I think it's very important that tech companies take that responsibility because they have a lot of influence.
It's great to be a part of a community that upholds those values.
Mhm.
So throughout your career journey, what was one thing that surprised you about working in technology?
There's so many things, right? I never ever envisioned myself ever working in technology, and yet here I am. I've been in this field. Not only am I working in technology, my goodness, I started out in analytics and in software, and now I'm over in hardware, working with actual systems. Never even imagined that, and I think that's it comes down to there's so many things that you can do within tech. It's the variety of roles, and it's not just one technical role. But the other thing that's very surprising is the importance of the value of the intersection between business and technology. And those are some skills that are out in the world that are very rare to find. Individuals who have the business understanding. It's what you call those T-shaped skills, right? It's you might have a broad view in business, but you might go deep in technology, or you might have a broad view of technology and go deep in business. But it truly is that intersection of business and technology, because IT and technology, it's not just there to create something cool, right? I mean, that's really awesome to have like some true innovative technology that's really, really neat, but build it and they will not necessarily come. There's got to be a business value behind it. And from a technology perspective, the more you're able to understand the business impact of that potential technology, then that enables you to create an even more valuable and meaningful technical solution. So I think that it was surprising to me that it's not just pure technology, which is why I think I was able to probably fit in a little bit better, is because I had that business side, but then melding those two together to really create value and really, really make an impact with that technology.
It's wonderful that you were able to use a diverse array of your experience, especially, in practical mathematics, in order to expand in what you were able to do. So considering that you've held many leadership roles in the tech industry, what qualities would you say are necessary for becoming a leader in tech?
I think it's very similar. They're going to be very similar qualities that you're going to find in any industry, right? From a for leadership, and in fact, I was just in the process of recruiting and looking for new leadership within my organization, and so. When I put all of that together, of what is it you've got to think about? What is it that you're looking for from a candidate perspective? And what comes to mind is really, or what comes to the forefront, initiative, right? Having that drive to go out and do it on your own, to really want to make an impact, the desire to always learn. That is so important because things are constantly changing. Every day I'm learning something new. So you've got to not only have that willingness to learn, but that willingness to truly ensure that you implement what it is that you learn and that you change kind of how you think about things based on what you're learning. Um, Strategic and critical thinking skills. Those are absolutely key in any leadership position. But when it comes to the technical field and being a leader within tech, you do need to have that technical acumen, right? So have some experience, if you will, within the technical field to be able to truly understand the concepts that are in being able to make change or to impact your organization and truly lead that organization. It doesn't mean that you have to have super deep tech skills in every little area that you go into. Absolutely not. It's really that acumen, right, of being able to understand it, and also being open to the art of the possible and innovative thinking, so that you can think in different ways that perhaps that's one of the great things about diverse teams. It's diverse thinking. It's diverse ways of thinking and thought that create new innovative ideas that would have never come out of a potential team if you didn't bring somebody in from a different background or had different ways of thinking. So to me, those are kind of the key things. It is that strategic and critical thinking. It's about initiative, desire to learn, but also ensuring that you do have some technical acumen.
And having a variety of those skills also leads to great team building skills as well, which is exactly
Mhm.
what you need in order to communicate with people of such diverse backgrounds. And my next question for you is, what would you like to see change in the portrayal of people, specifically women, who work in tech? This can span from the public's view, cultural views, or the media's portrayal of people who work in tech.
That's a really good question because and I'm going to bring back something that actually happened to me relatively recently. And it was with my daughter. She is 10 now, and she had to do a report in school about what did she want to be when she grew up, right? What are some of the different fields that she was interested in? And she had to write about it, but then she also had to bring in pictures of what that was. And when I was talking with her to try to see, okay, what is it? What are you interested in? And she said, I want to be a good hacker, right? So kind of that ethical hacking. I said, okay, that's great. Let's go find some pictures. And all of the images that we saw out there, one after another, after another, is men and guys in hoodies. There are almost no women in this field, and we finally are in the from an imagery perspective, and we finally found one way deep down in an article and looking at it was actually something specifically for women in tech, or girls in tech, but it was really difficult to find that image of a female there. And I think it's important, um, visuals and imagery, being able to visualize yourself in that position is hard to do when you don't see somebody that looks like you, right? So I think definitely, while there are many things that can change, one of the things, this was just one that happened to be personal to me and to my daughter, was really that imagery that's out there.
Especially for the youth of today, it's very important that they're able to see themselves reflected in not just one, but many roles. They need to know that, anything is possible. And portrayal is one way of illustrating that. My next question for you is, what is a critical lesson you've learned throughout your career that has helped you get to where you are today?
Follow your passion and don't be afraid to fail. As I mentioned, I never envisioned myself ever being in technology, ever working for IBM. I always thought, I'd go down a completely different route. But as I began experiencing different things, whether it was through the technology that I used or whether it was within a particular position, something that, for example, I was a manager leading a team, and one of the things that I really found that I enjoyed was helping those team members achieve their potential, right? And helping to enable them and train them and really get them to the next level. I really enjoyed that component about management. And so from there, I actually went over into sales enablement and pre-sales enablement, and in a more of a training position. So follow your passion, but you don't necessarily need to know what that is right now. You don't need to know where you're going to be in 20 years or 5 years or 10 years. It's what do you enjoy doing now? What truly gets you up in the morning and gets you excited, and ensuring that the job that you're doing has those elements, but then be open to what might be around the corner. And in order to be open around the corner, you have to not be afraid to fail. Um, so but you need to be able to learn from your failures. Another example was a position that I took. I had been doing sales enablement, so I've been teaching sales methodology, and how to progress sales, and all of this, all from a technical perspective, some technical sales as well. And there was a position available in a completely different organization, which is like almost like a different company. I didn't know anybody over there. It was in a completely new area, but I was really excited by it. It was working with universities. Um, and I found out a little bit more about this position. And one of the things that they needed was a leader to come in and really get this team up to speed, really turn the team around, right? Be that transformational leader. And because the team wasn't necessarily performing where they knew that that team could perform. And so I looked at that position. I said, okay, I've never really worked specifically with universities, but hey, I can do that. Um, I haven't really ever done kind of the sales. I've never been in sales, but I've been teaching it. So if I've been teaching it, I should be able to apply it. And so I wanted to go try this out because I know that being a transformational leader is something that many companies look for. And I'm like, either I am going to go in there and turn this team around and it's going to be totally awesome, or I'm going to go in there and completely and utterly fail. And that's okay. Let's go give it a try. So you got to be willing to put yourself out there, and outside of your comfort zone, because you might find that you really do belong there and you continue to strengthen your skills and you might really enjoy it. So don't be afraid to fail.
That is really excellent advice. Um, one of the lessons that I've learned at my experience working with UNICC is it's related to sports, but it has nothing to do with sports, but it relates to what you just said. Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. And since this series is about girls and women in technology,
Mhm.
do you have any career or tech advice to give our listeners?
Take initiative, uh, explore, because you don't know what you don't know, right? Um, be willing to ask questions, because sometimes it's scary to ask questions. Sometimes, and this is what I've learned from working with apprentices as well, is and talking with them, and what are some of their some things that they've learned that really help them the most. Um, and it really is around, don't be afraid to ask a question. Don't be afraid that you're gonna look like, you don't know anything, or that you're supposed to know everything. You're not. It's a learning journey for everyone, and everyone appreciates it when you do ask questions, because it means that you're thinking about things and you're learning new things. So don't be afraid to ask those questions. In fact, sometimes it's more frustrating from a leadership perspective. It's more frustrating when folks don't ask questions or don't ask for help, because they sit there spinning their wheels for so long. And if they just asked, we could have helped them to get to where they needed to be that much faster. Um, so you're not alone. Use your network. Ask questions. Build that network. Reliance on your own personal community and reliance on that network, it makes you stronger. It doesn't demonstrate weakness. So explore. Don't be afraid to shift your path as well. So if you find something new that you enjoy, um, I was working with. I do a lot with our new to Z community, and understanding how do they find their way into this path? How did they get here? And so many folks that I work with and that I talk to, they talk about, hey, I first started out in marketing, or I started out in, I thought that I would really love application development and web development. And it turned out that they went down that path, and they're like, I was bored by that. I really didn't like it at all. And so I tried something else, and I took that step to come over here, and I absolutely love enterprise computing. Um, don't feel that just because you made the decision to go down one route that you have to continue and follow that route. Be willing to change. Be willing to take that risk.
Thank you for giving such insightful answers. Do you have any questions for me?
Actually, yes, I do have some questions for you. What do you like most about technology?
Versatility. Being able to create and communicate through this medium because it not only helps to expand visibility and bridge gaps, but it's also environmentally conscious in terms of how you can express yourself, which is really cool.
Awesome. Is there anything that surprised you about working with tech so far?
There's this idea that in order to be successful in tech, you have to love it more than water, which in fact couldn't be farther from the truth for most people. The most compelling people I've met in tech work their way up from many different areas, whether it be finance or business, fashion, music, performing arts, you name it. So the diversity of interests are vast in tech. And that's what has surprised me most in working with these amazing and interesting groups of people.
I think that's an awesome point. I think that the more that more pervasive technology is in all different, not just there's not just a tech industry. It's and there's not just a tech department anymore within companies. It's really truly pervasive in everything you do, whether you're doing marketing, whether you're in law, whether you're in sales. It doesn't matter what you do. Tech is there, and I think that that's also creating that more diverse population and more ways for people to come into tech. So
Absolutely.
you're in school right now. Um, what are some study tips that you'd share with the incoming science and engineering majors?
Start early. Become familiar with the material that you're learning as soon as you can. If you can snag an early syllabus of topics ahead of time, do that and thank yourself later.
That's great. So, as a student, can you describe the tech community that you're a part of?
It's like a vast explosion of curious people who love to argue, but for truth. So we've come a long way since the Enlightenment era, but scientists, or in this case, computer scientists, are very interested in the way things work and being able to expand on cost efficiency.
Mm, yeah, absolutely right. So, kind of thinking back, and based on kind of what you've seen within the community and your experience, what qualities do you think are important for someone who wants to pursue tech as a career?
Perseverance, curiosity, team building skills, and being well read are extremely important qualities, which means you have to become comfortable with doing independent research because talent can only get you so far. You have to be willing to do the work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you have any advice for other young women or girls who are interested in learning more about technology?
Check out IBM's ecosystem, duh. I wish I knew about that platform sooner. It would have helped me a lot, especially with becoming more integrated in my tech community. But Free Code Camp is also great. That's where I did a summer of coding between HTML and CSS, and then I learned Python and C++ plus plus at school and a little bit of Java on my own. But I think it's integral to commit to a coding course on your own before taking the leap. That way, you have more of an understanding of what you're getting yourself into and what skills you're going to need to become successful in tech.
That's great. Try it. Give it a try before you drive. Right. Try before you commit. And it also enables you, as you said, to learn more. That's great.
And that wraps up our session today for Talking Tech Women and Girls in ICT. Thanks so much, Meredith. I really enjoyed our chat today. And thank you to our viewers for watching.